He was not a complicated person, but you really knew he cared for you. He was not pretentious, but he was very, very relational. Somebody told me that, and we all from our backgrounds understand this, there was a very enthusiastic worshiper who irritated Brother Baxter. And when the music started, he would twirl down the aisle. So Mel was worship leading, and he said, "Stop the music, everybody sit down, and we'll begin again." And also, they said what he lacked in homiletical prowess and following Brother Baxter, you'd have to be pretty good. He made up for enthusiasm. Somebody just emailed me and said, when Mel led a congregation in prayer, he would exhort us to pray with our eyes open, especially if we're praying for one another. He figured the Bible did not have much to say about approaching anything when you were blind. Now, this was a young person back in those days, and this is a confession that they made. One Sunday morning, after attending a very long and boring wedding reception the day before, I mean really long and painfully boring, several frustrated members of the bridal party left early. The next morning, Mel made a point to loudly and publicly decry the behavior of these young people, and did so in a short sermonette on the need of young people to be more respectful. My ears were red for a week. In 1979, Elaine was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and that changed things for the Hislops. In 1984, after 10 years as a pastor of Christian Center, he resigned to take care of his family. Mel's dedication and devotion to Elaine was exemplary and continued to the end. And I've been in the ministry for many years, and there's often the criticism that pastors neglect their own families. But that was one man that I knew that could never be said that he neglected his family. Now, Mel was a very busy and industrious person, and this eulogy, or history, wouldn't be complete if we actually, I phoned around and found a little bit of his work history. So he did not like school, and in his grade 10 year, a sheet metal company called Helco, where they made furnaces, offered him a job, and he took that job. After they closed, he worked for his uncle's furniture store, and I think his specialty was Amana freezers, and I'm quite sure if you bought an Amana freezer from Mel, there was no better freezer in the world. He worked for Evans for a while on large truck delivery, and then he became on staff at Christian Center. After leaving the pastorate at Christian Center, Mel installed blinds and drapes. He also worked at Pacific Academy, coordinating the janitorial and maintenance. Mel could never sit still and continued to work anywhere that they let him. Now, I remember that in around 2004, when Mel had been probably 72 years old, he installed all the blinds in the new school building over here. And there's at least 50 windows in that building. And they're still, I think one fell down a couple of years ago, but they're still all there. Although Mel's family moved from Saskatchewan when he was 11 years old, there was still some farm boy in him, not just his oratory breadth. In fact, he loved to garden, and he always gave us vegetables, so gardening became his hobby. His own garden, anybody else's garden that he could garden in. Around 5 years ago, Mel was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he had a year of chemotherapy. And not long after that, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. So Mel spent the last few years of his life taking it easy and enjoying his home at Sunridge Gardens. It was a very, very nice place they were living in there. Mel spent the last few weeks of his life in Langley Hospital, and Elaine told me that on October the 6th he passed away without any pain, And Elaine was there a few minutes before, and she sat with him, telling him how much she loved him. And I imagine that he went into glory hearing Elaine affirming him, and also hearing, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." Dwayne, please sing for us again. Thank you.